Hey, it's me, Renee. I'm back. So this, as you can see from the title, is my Eurovision TBR. Oh, Eurovisionathon, to be precise. So yeah, just a little intro first. Well, I suppose also like, in case you didn't know about Eurovisionathon, maybe you haven't seen of the one we had before. Yeah, just oh sorry, no, actually done 2 videos related to it before. But yeah, in case you didn't know, Eurovisionathon is actually already on. It started the 24th of April and it stops the 17th of May. And the idea is to read books from the countries that are participating in Eurovision, kind of in name. But also it's not very strict, so it can be either a book that has one scene there, or it could be a book that's set all there. It could be a book that has a author from there. It could be a non-fiction book about it. It doesn't have to be like that. It's the magnus opus of that. Like it doesn't have to be type Henry James or James Baldwin or like classics or stuff like that. It can be anything really. And yeah, and so the countries that I suppose so if you read a book by a Swedish author, for example Astrid Lindgren, that way by reading a book by a Swedish author you give points to Sweden, kind of like people give points to different songs in Eurovision. So if you think that this song in Eurovision is very good, you should read lots of books from that country or around that country, because then it'll get lots of points. Of course, not directly, but like indirectly in this Eurovisionathon, not in the competition itself. But also, like if a song that you've read lots of books about wins, that you get lots of points. So kind of fun. Like if you want to compete in that way, you can do that. But also it's also just a way to like read from different or about different places in Europe. Well, as well as in Australia, because they are participating for like the 4th year in a row now. So yeah, you get to be included. But yeah, so yeah, usually people, often on BookTube, the main language, as was also place in the world, is English, and lots of people on BookTube read mainly in English, and they often tend to focus on American and British authors. So this is the way to expand, to read about different places. But you can also, as I said, you can also read a book by Lucinda Riley that's set in Australia, because that's something that exists. So you can do that, but like, yeah, it's a way to expand, and it's a way to have fun little TBR this May. And yeah, so with me, I first I thought like, okay, Eurovisionathon sounds fun, I'm gonna do it. And then for a long time I didn't really know what my TBR would be. And then I thought, okay, there's some countries in Europe that I don't really know that much about. I can't want to read from those. I tried to find some of those. I didn't really find all, so I kind of managed it slightly, halfly. So in the end, some of these books are books that from countries that I want to like learn more about, that I haven't really read that much about, and some are more like books that I want to read that in a way randomly are from different countries. So it's slightly on purpose, slightly not on purpose. And yeah, also if you want to check it out, I already actually did a video on one of the songs, I Don't Feel Hate, and recommending some books that I feel like fit to it. And I'm going to do that for a few more of the songs, because because of Eurovisionathon, I decided to listen to all or most of the Eurovision songs of this year, and to kind of give myself a little bit of a more idea what songs are participating this year. And yeah, I got some favorites and decided to do videos about them. And yeah, I already have one. I also actually have a video on books you could read, like books from around Europe. So if in case you have decided like Eurovisionathon sounds fun, I might participate slightly. I mean, of course you can read from one country. You don't really have to read from all the countries. You can read one book. You can read 3 books. It's up to you how much you read and stuff. But yeah, if you feel inspired, I'll also link the other video down below. And yeah, so yeah, this is my TBR. Though I mean, Eurovisionathon is lasting till Sunday 20th of May. I might like add some more books, so wonder not, to our TBR. But this is my TBR at this point in time. And yeah, let's get to it. After 5 minutes, but yeah, let's get to it. First, we have Historier om Istanbul by Torvald Sten. So this is kind of like a story about Istanbul, the capital of Turkey. And yeah, Turkey do participate. So it's one of those countries kind of like on edge, but they usually don't participate. You know, I'm just gonna double check. I'm pretty sure they're. Give me a minute. I just double checked. Turns out it doesn't seem like this at this moment that Turkey is participating this year. So I suppose this is kind of not really part of the rules then. I suppose, yeah. Also, I didn't say that up front, but yeah, because of Eurovision being, well, I suppose, Eurovisionathon going through, I suppose say most, but the first 17 days of May, this will probably also double as my May TBR, because I love May will be finished then. And other than that, I have some other books that, yeah, I'll put in at the end, really. But yeah, so this one doesn't count, but still kind of want to read it. It's short, so yeah. And maybe they announced today after I finish this, after I put up this video that Turkey is participating. I mean, it's not too late. It's not May yet, so maybe. But yeah, moving on. Also, Kevin from Much Ado About Books said that they weren't going to read books from the country that they were from, well, that they lived in, and they lived in Sweden. I didn't connect that as being a rule, so I have some Norwegian books on my TBR. Helen that's created this readathon didn't really say anything specific about that. So yeah, I have Norwegian books on my TBR. If that's against the rules, boo-hoo. I mean, the booktube police, I don't really think they're a thing. They don't exist, people. They don't exist. Do your own thing. But yeah, then, as I said, a Norwegian book, Melanie, Hvitere and Blekemiddag by Samaya Dali. So this is actually poems. It's poems actually, written by blah blah. Now I'm an idiot. Just gonna double check. Blah 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 blah. She grew up in Somalia, I want to say. You know what? I'm going to double check that. I'm going to double check it. Grew up. She was born in Somalia and she lived there till she was like 5, 6, and then she came to Norway. And yeah, so she's written some poems, and well, this is a poem book, and then she's also written some books about being Somali Norwegian, how that affects her, and how being multicultural in Norway affects her. And she's also, let's say, important. She's also big in debating. So if any debate starts happening, she's usually debating. Like she writes debates for newspapers and she goes on radio and stuff like that. And yeah, so I kind of wanted to read this one. Kind of interesting because it's poems. I don't really read that much of that, but I do want to read more of it. So yeah. And then we have Failure to Communicate by Kaya Sunderbu. So this is actually an American author who's married to Swede. Who's married to a Dane. That's why she has the weed last name with the Ö. And yeah, so this is actually about the protagonist actually has autism, and it's getting more and more, but still not that many books with autism, and at least not YA books with autism. And yeah, so I heard this is a very good book, so curious to get to it. Then we also have some books that kind of like they probably will work somehow, but it's not like specific place. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what it's about. Hva skjedde når? Historiske hendelser dag for dag. So this is a book, non-fiction book, about things that are happening in history day to day. So it's a date, and then you have what happened that day in history. So it could be something that happened in Norway, something that happened, I mean, that's William Shakespeare, so UK, so you like have things from all over history, all over the world. I'm kind of guessing here. Yes, all over the world as well. So because of that, I mean, stuff happens around Europe. So in that way, one of the countries that I don't already have, or that maybe a country I want to read more about, is in here. So yeah. Also, it just sounds so cool. I just found it just browsing the shelves. It's 207 pages, so it's not long. So yeah. Then we have Blå breddegrader I Captain Cook's kjølvann by Tony Horwich. So this is a travelogue. Yeah, I think it's called travelogue in English. Yeah, so it's a guy in in 2000 and just gonna double check here. In 2003, Tony Hawk, he actually decided Horwitz, not Tony Hawk, Horwich, he decided to take a trip that James Cook did in 1776. So kind of following his footsteps. So he brings into it the modern day life, but also he talks about uses Tony Brooks. He uses James Cook's diary to talk about what he experienced and what he felt and met and stuff like that. So this will be like kind of like I found it in the section for Australia, so it will be mentioned or will be in connection to that. And also, I suppose you can also talk with it as English because James Cook was English. But yeah, it's a bit of a chunker. But if I get to it, it'll be very fun. And yeah, as always, will I get to all the TBR? Maybe not, but it's what I want. Then we have this one that's kind of cheating. It's not. I mean, you can do it. It's not a very strict Eurovisionathon, readathon in the way that I've experienced it. So it feels like cheating, but yeah, we have Malta Insight Guides. So this is like a travel guide where it tells you like hotels and stuff, but it also tells you like the history of the place because often travel guides also talks to you about history. Stunning photography, in-depth features in history and culture, and that's kind of what I want to like history and culture. And yeah, Malta's actually been on my bucket list for like maybe 12 years. I saw it just kind of randomly in a brochure and I was flagged somewhere else, and it just looked so stunning. And also I've heard bits and pieces about it sometimes, like it sounds to have such a fascinating history. So yeah, I very much want to go there, and because of that, I kind of want to read more about it. At this point in time, I know that Malta it's an island in Europe. I know that it's been conquered by many people, so they speak both French and I think they also speak Maltese. Might be wrong in there, but like they have like all of those very multilingual countries where they can speak a lot of the languages, and it's just stunning. And that's more or less what I know at the moment. So yeah, I want to know more. And I suppose, of course, if you see this video and you think like, I know a book about that country, a book about that cool country in Europe, please let me know. Then we have Fra Knausgård til, Fra Shakespeare til Knausgård. So this is a book about 66 classics you of course have read. So it's a Norwegian literature professor. Yeah, literature professor. Sort of like, what's the word I'm thinking about in English as well? Because in Norwegian it's litteraturkjenner, but yeah, I would just say literature professor because that's what she is as well. And yeah, so she talks about like the old classic Shakespeare and Knausgård, who's a Norwegian author from modern day. So she goes through a lot of the books, and yeah, it's kind of interesting and looks cool. It's a short little book, and yeah, so it's kind of like a short, like with illustrations and like short, what's the word again? Introduction to each book. It's not like a big. I mean, of course you can't because Shakespeare wrote a lot, but yeah. And so yeah, that again, you could work for Norway, you could also work for England because Shakespeare, and so could look with a lot of different stuff. I suppose I will love those. Will love the books. I don't know exactly which countries they work for before I've read them. So I probably update you throughout the month, like I've read them. Like this book goes for this country because when I read it, I know how much it specifies on that and that, and yeah. And then we have Gunnar, how I became the mayor of a large city in Iceland and changed the world by Jon Gunnar. So this guy, he's actually a Icelandic comedian, and he was actually the mayor in Iceland in like 2010. I think like 2010, 2011, so like just after the economic crack of the world. And you know, as you probably know, Iceland and Greek was one of the countries that was hit the most. Iceland was bankrupt for a time. And yeah, so this guy actually won and became mayor. And I think he did pretty well, like as mayor. And yeah, so this is kind of a biography of his life in mayordom. Sounds weird, but like his life in politics and life before and that, yeah, that time. And yeah, I'm just kind of curious to read it. Not long, so yeah. And also, yeah, of course, I had to have a book from Iceland because that song again, it's the same people who did the song last year, and that group is just so good. So yeah, Ireland is going to get some of my points, definitely. Then we have Denmark again, but like because in case you didn't remember, this is also around Denmark. Well, for that now is in Denmark. I suppose when you think about it, actually could also read Olivia Jade, yeah, because she lives in Sweden, Denmark. I think she lives in Sweden now. Yeah, interesting. Okay, yeah. Anyway, now we're talking about this book, Skammenens Dotter, or The Streamer's Daughter by Lene Colbert. Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult name there for you guys, but yeah. This is a book that one of my favorite books of all time. I've talked about it before in several videos. You might think like it looks weird, looks different from my version. Yeah, this is the library version because my book is just missing. I can't seem to find it. It's just a mystery. I didn't know what happened. Hopefully it's maybe on a floor somewhere. Someone, I don't know, because it's not a big book, so hopefully it's not gone. But like because I want to read this soon, I just borrowed it from the library at the time being. So yeah, it's a middle grade high fantasy series. This is the first in the series. I borrowed the first and second from the library because I kind of want to reread both of them. It'll be a reread because I've read them many times before. But yeah, very much enjoying to get back to this series. And yeah, at the time being, I only borrowed the first two from the library. I might maybe get the last two also because it's a quartet and because it will be fun to read the whole thing. But I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm gonna do the first one. And yeah, in case you haven't seen me talk about this before, it's about I just had to double check something, sorry. It's about Dina and her mom. They both, when they look into your eyes, you can see everything that you're ashamed of. So just the things that you lied, or like if you did something illegal, or like anything. So it's quite an interesting, really power. It's not like telekinesis or telepathy. She doesn't know she can't look into your eyes and know what you love or what you're grateful for. It's just what you're shameful for. So of course she gets, Dina and her mom gets dragged into a court case, and big politics and stuff happens. And yeah, it's just a very, very good book. Also, as you might imagine from this cover, it's also a movie. Came out a few years ago, and now there's actually 2 movies. I haven't seen the last one actually. I want to see that one as well. And yeah, yes. Let's move on. And then we have Sharon med Tarman by Julie Anders. So this is actually a German author. It's non-fiction about the gods. Yeah, suddenly I remember, name, the gods. So it's kind of like a book about the gods. But yeah, it came out like in 2015 now, so actually 6 years ago. But yeah, and yeah, so it's kind of more or less always been a book I find interesting to read about, because it sounds so interesting and like so layman terms. It doesn't really sound so difficult. Like sometimes I'm still a bit scared of nonfiction, but everything I heard about this is that it's so easy to read, it's so accessible, and yeah, I'm kind of curious about how does the gut work. And I do know that the author Julia, she actually like did some research on like how it's best to poop and stuff, like how you should sit when you poop and stuff. And I just find that kind of fascinating and interesting. And yeah, as I said, also the German song is just so good. So this will probably be one of several books from around Germany I'll read, because they deserve all the money. No, all the money. Well, all the points, at least in my opinion. Then we have a book that's kind of like, set everywhere. I Dödes Språksällskap, which is a book about dead languages, and it's about dead languages. So languages has more or less always existed. Well, it has always existed everywhere in the world. For sure, it's some form of languages somewhere in the world. And yeah, so probably there's some extinct languages in Europe as well. So yeah, this just sounds fascinating. I very much like languages. Duh. Well, I suppose not that duh, but yeah, I'm fascinated by it. So yeah, this sounds interesting. Then we have Reiser mellom språk by Rolf Theil. So this is the kind of like about languages in general, and like both the dead ones and the live ones, and how in some languages you have so many ways to be polite, and you have so many ways to be rude and say this and that. So yeah, I'm thinking this is going to be like work pretty well for my purpose. So yeah, this one. Then we have Netherlands in a nutshell, highlights for Dutch history and culture. And yeah, so Netherlands is another one of those songs from this year that I feel like are very good. It's very good. A Netherlands song, the singer there has just got a great voice. Yeah, just a great sounding voice. And so yeah, curious to read this one. Yeah, also like fun to read more about Netherlands. And yeah, this being more like a journal about Netherlands and not a tour guide as the multi-book. That is good. Sorry. And then I actually found non-fiction. No, I actually found a fiction book. Some people have talked about how for Eurovision you can read who killed Eurovision. No, I think it's a mystery book around Eurovision where like one of them is killed or something. I tried to find it. I couldn't find it on the places that I buy books and stuff, so I'm probably not gonna read that, but I kind of want to read that later. I'll link it down below if you're interested. But I did find this book, written by Norwegian, MGP by Magne Hovden. So MGP is just kind of the name of Eurovision Norway, Melody Grand Prix. And so this is kind of more a comedy about a guy that used to be big, like it's a fictional band, like it's a fictional band that used to be big in Norway. Now they're just kind of has-beens. And so they decided to win Eurovision. The fact that the Eurovision deadline is in the past, no, that doesn't matter. We can still do this. So they decided to go with this Viking gimmick, and they get this singer with like a huge voice, and shenanigans happen. And yeah, so this book I actually haven't really heard about at all. I just kind of googled Melody Grand Prix and Eurovision, and I found this and thought, cool. So yeah, this sounds very interesting. Very excited to get it. Also very fun to like. As I said, it's a book I didn't hear about anything before at all. So it's a book that I'll go into blindly. In that way, I have no expectations. So like, it can probably pretty much just impress me or like interest me. Like if you go into a book with very many expectations, often you get let down because you have so many anticipations and ideas. If you don't know about it, that's something completely else. So yeah. And then we have Melodi Grand Prix quiz book. So this is a quiz book, as you kind of think. Quiz in Norwegian and English is the same. And yeah, it's a quiz book around Eurovision. So I suppose because of that, some of the themes are like, some of the categories are like international winners and celebrities and different stuff like that. So there's probably some questions here around countries that I don't really focus on before, or it's just kind of general fun to like do this quiz now and then during this month. So yeah, this just sounds cool. And there's also pretty sure there's actually more Eurovision quiz books, but this was the one I found recently, like that was available in the library. This one came out in 2010, so 11 years now. But yeah, that's cool. Yeah. The rest of these books are just Norwegian. You know what? As I said, I'm doing this as a May TBR, so I'm also going to show you some other of these books because I borrowed them from the library, so I have to return them at the end of the month, end of next month, and yeah. So these books from now on out are more like less Eurovision focused and more like Norwegian focused because I kind of ended up finding lots of cool books around Norway, and it wasn't really on purpose, but kind of fits because actually Norway's National Day is in May, actually the 17th of May. So reading books around Norway kind of works. So yeah, next up we have Dom og andre steder by Silje Katrine Svigum og Knut Egil Wang. So as you might think, this is a non-fiction book about place names in Norway. And yeah, it just sounds so cool, like how we have so many different places in Norway, like the weirdest names, like Dum is Norwegian for idiot. There's a place called Idiot in Norway. And also, in case you didn't know, there's actually a place in Trøndelag called Hell in Norway. So I suppose it's not that funny for Norwegians, but for Americans, kind of like, you have hell? And also because hell is in that part of the country, every year it's cold and it gets ice, freezing. So every year it freezes in hell in Norway. So that's kind of interesting. And yeah, so this is just kind of a selection of different fun place names. And I just found it randomly. So yeah, okay. So you see, like, there's a picture and then there's just some text with it. So it seems like a very cool, easily fun read book to get to. And then we have another one actually, which is kind of same theme. From Mjølmykjan til Gunderøy. Vår villeste og rareste stadsnavn. And this, I suppose, this is more a bit about weird places, and this is more about funny place names. Or I suppose, I think they're maybe a bit similar, but I think this one came out last year. This one came out in, doesn't say, but I'm pretty sure this one came out a few years before this one. So I suppose this kind of has a different aspect to it. Also, though, sometimes I get a bit confused because sometimes, like, I pay attention, so I listen to when new books are reviewed or books are talked about in media and stuff. And sometimes they talk about, like, yeah, someone's interviewed and they say, like, yeah, like, this book, no one talked about this thing before, so I wanted to read it because it needs to be talked about. And I'm like, you do know that there's at least 3 other books about that topic from the last 10 years. What? This was maybe didn't do enough research. Maybe he discovered there were other books on the same topic, but after he finished the book. It's a bit weird. But I suppose again, like in today's world, you have millions of books out there, so this probability of someone have written the same thing as you is pretty large. So yeah. And then we have Norsk er et lite språk som ferdig med å dø ut, og andre myter og språk. So this is again a book about Norwegian language but also about myths about language. So it's not just about Norwegian, but also about other languages and kind of like debunking myths about language. It's not long, and yeah, I'm very much interested in language, so it works very well. And then we have Norsk banneordbok, which banne is Norwegian for swearing. Norsk is Norwegian for Norwegian. And yeah, so it's just kind of fun book about how they swear different in different places in Norway, and kind of like how some places you have a long sentence, some places it's often usual to have just one word, and yeah, it just kind of interests me. So yeah. Norges historier. So this is kind of about big things happening in Norway, but like not big things, more like when we won Eurovision in 2009, when people felt about that, but it's also about like the biography of the author. So it's both like big national events, but also smaller events. And yeah, just sounds interesting. And then we have 101 ord du trodde du kunne, 101 words you thought you knew. So this is kind of like about newer words, about like influencers and different stuff like that. And it's just kind of like, I didn't know before that, but yeah, it's just a bit of a text and then some pictures. So yeah, it's probably gonna be fine. So a lot of these kind of seem to be like reads that are easily read, that are shorter and with lots of pictures. So that's probably gonna work good. Yeah, that's my TBR for me. I'll link that important stuff down below. And if you have any thoughts on Eurovision, on these books, or just someone say hi, and bye.